As we approach the first game store, I'm now about 13 minutes away, which is very exciting. I want to take a quick moment to kind of tell you what are the rules of this road trip. Well, number one, I am looking for the 22 GameCube games that I have left in the collection. I have to buy them complete in box. I am not gonna pay more than market value. So if they're priced more than market value and I can't talk them down to a reasonable price, I'm not gonna buy it. And I'm also not gonna buy any of the few that I have left that are absurdly expensive, like Disney Sports Basketball, Go-Go Hyper Grind. I'm gonna try to stick with games that are like $200 or less, okay? If I go into a game store and they don't have a GameCube game that I need, which is very likely, I don't want to walk out of there completely empty-handed. I'm also going for a complete PS2 set. So if I go into a game store and they don't have a GameCube game that I need, I'm going to buy at least one PS2 game to add to the PS2 collection. Okay, so it's like 6:50 a.m. I've barely had any caffeine, so I'm half dead right now. However, I am on my way to the first game store that we're stopping at on this journey. And that game store is Game Exchange in Richmond, Kentucky. Now, unfortunately, I still have like 3 hours and 20 minutes until I get there. Alright, so unfortunately, none of the games I need for the collection are here in the cheap area. It's mostly sports games. Now, the only cheaper sport game I'm looking for is NHL 2K3, which I can't find that game anywhere for some reason. I'm going to get at least one PS2 game. There's a ton of PS2 games here, so I'm sure I'll find at least one. Alright, I found a game that looks interesting to me, and that's Robotech Invasion. Complete, 10 bucks. Looks pretty cool. Alright, so the first game store was a bust. The Game Exchange in Richmond. As a matter of fact, they had a really, really poor GameCube collection. One of the poorest GameCube collections or selections that I've seen at a game store in quite some time. We're gonna hit up another Game Exchange. This one is in Lexington, Kentucky. All right, so here are the GameCube games at this Game Exchange. It's not looking promising. There's a few in a glass case too that I'm gonna check out. But again, if we can't find a GameCube game that we need, then I'll probably get a PS2 game. Okay, I think I found the PS2 game that I'm gonna walk out of here with today. I've never heard of this game before. It's called Xylan Showdown. I think I pronounced that correctly, but it's from Konami and WB. All right, so sadly we struck out yet again at this Game Exchange in Lexington, Kentucky. 2 game stores down though, and not a single GameCube game I needed. I did pick up this cool looking game though, so at least I didn't leave totally empty-handed. All right, we're here at the other Game Exchange, and even though the GameCube selection here on the shelf is a lot better than the other two, unfortunately there's not one that I need, which is to be expected. The on-the-shelf games are going to be the cheaper games, and there's only a few cheaper games that I have left. So I just finished at the third Game Exchange I've been to today, the one here in Lexington, Kentucky, and I finally scored. I finally got a GameCube game that I needed for the collection. Now, I wasn't able to film finding this one at the counter. It was in a glass case at the counter. I wasn't able to film because the lady at the counter didn't want to be anywhere near being on camera, and I have to respect that. But I scored, and there's some good news and some bad news. So I scored a heavy hitter, Lost Kingdoms 2, complete in box. And the good news is I got it for a great price, $125, and it's typically in good condition. It's usually around $150. So I got it for a great price. Now here's the bad news. Let me flip the camera around. Bad news is it is in poor condition. It looks like it has severe water damage all through the cover art behind the plastic. Now I'm gonna swap it to a better case. That will help a little bit. I'm not super concerned about condition right now. I'll do condition upgrades later. I couldn't say no to getting this complete in box for $125. 3 game stores in, we got one game, one of the 22 games I needed for the collection, and I got it for a good price. Next, we're gonna go to a CM Games here in Lexington, Kentucky. I hope you're enjoying today's video. I want to take a really quick moment to show you how you can buy brand new games at wholesale prices and get great deals through the Goodiez app.
Let me show you how it works.
When you open the Goodiez app, the first thing you're going to want to do is scroll down before pre-order, check out the Goodiez Pick section, and click See All. Once you do that, it's going to show you all of the available Goodiez Picks that are available for purchase. You're going to want to click Filter, click Good Deal, and if you want to find the best deals, the cheapest prices, then click Sort by Price Lowest. And what you are going to be left with are brand new PS4, Xbox One, PS5, Nintendo Switch games at wholesale prices, and the good deal filter is going to show you games that are a certain percentage below market value. Like, as an example right here, we have Outriders on the PS4 for $9 and market value has it going for around $20. Another example, here we have Infamous Second Son on the PS4 at $13. Market value has it around $16. Here's a really good one, Wolfenstein Youngblood. Goodiez price is $13. Market value is around $25, and you can just keep scrolling to your heart's content, or you can filter to certain consoles. Like, say I want to look at specifically Nintendo Switch games, and there you go. Now we have the Nintendo Switch games.
It's that easy to get brand new games on the PS4, PS5, Nintendo Switch, and more at cheaper than retail and market value. So download the Goodiez app today for free, create an account for free, and start saving some money on some brand new games through Goodiez.
Ugh, this CM Games is in a mall. Got Skies of Arcadia Legends, Zatch Belmoto Battles, Twilight Princess. Again, I already have all three of those games. Found a game that's catching my eye. Complete in box for $10. It's called Jet X2O. It looks like a over-the-top arcade jet ski game, but I can't tell if it's a racing game or if it's an adventure game of some kind, but it looks interesting. All right, so I just finished up at the CM Games here in Lexington in a mall, and I struck out. Didn't find a single GameCube game, even though it's literally one of the biggest CM games I've ever been in. It was absolutely massive, and they had a ton of games, but none of the GameCube games I needed. Struck out. 4 stores down and only 1 game acquired. I did walk out of there with a PS2 game at least. Next, I am heading to a place that's 17 minutes away called Matt's Games, Collectibles, and More. Looking at some of the cheaper GameCube games here, unfortunately, there's nothing that I need for the collection, but he does have this, the ultimate codes for Animal Crossing. Now, I picked up one of these at Really Rad Weekend for the Wind Waker, I believe it was. So you don't run across these very often, and these are, you know, pretty cool and obscure. All right, so I'm checking out the PS2 set here that he has in store. He's got a really good PS2 set. Also, the way that the PS2 games are displayed, I've never seen this before, so check this out. So the PS2 games slide in like a little groove like that on an angle so that they can all be displayed really nicely. It's actually really cool. But I'm gonna grab Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock because I don't have it yet, and this is a complete copy for $8, and this is probably my favorite Guitar Hero game of all time. All right, so even though I struck out and didn't find a GameCube game I needed, I did at least find one GameCube item, and that's this ultimate codes for use with Animal Crossing. With the disc, with the instructions. Again, it's a pretty obscure thing that you just don't see very often. I'm gonna put it in a new case. I'm gonna put it in a GameCube case, actually. And I got my favorite Guitar Hero game, Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock, complete for $8. Walked out of there with some cool stuff, and it was a cool store. So Matt's Games, Collectibles, and More here in Lexington, Kentucky. If you're ever in the area, check it out. It's a pretty cool game store. A lot of good stuff in there. Friendly guy too that runs it. Next up, we are going to a game store called GameSmart in Chillicothe, Ohio, and it's 3 hours away. But I did walk out with a PS2 game that looks pretty cool, and that is Army Men Green Rogue. Tokobot Plus, Mysteries of the Karakui from Tecmo to the final game store I'm stopping at today on day 1 of this journey, and that is Forever Games in Lancaster, Ohio. So, day 1,
is headed in. I only got one of the 22 games that I needed for the collection. But that's better than none. Day 2, I have no idea what game stores I'm going to tomorrow. It's only going to be a partial day because I'm going to a wedding. So we're going to see if I can hit up 2 or 3 game stores, maybe in the Columbus, Ohio area for day 2. And then day 3 is when things are going to get really interesting. Now, I didn't walk out of this game store, Forever Games, empty-handed. I did grab this PS2 game right here called The Hustle Detroit Streets, which is a pull game on the PS2 I've never heard of before until today when I heard RNG Gamer mention it in one of his videos. It is time for day 2 of this journey. I'm only gonna be able to hit up a few places today. I'm gonna hit up this flea market. It's a flea market that also sells lots of games. It's called Buckeye Games and Flea Market. And then there is another game store near that called like Galaxy Games or something like that. But anyways, I'm gonna hit both of these places up, but fingers crossed that we can find one of the 21 GameCube games. And today is not another day of disappointment. We'll see. All right, so as you just saw in the B-roll clips, unfortunately, both the cheap GameCube games and the expensive ones in the case, they didn't have one that I needed. A Frank the Pug bobblehead from NECA from 2002 in the box for 15 bucks from Men in Black 2. How can I not buy this? All right, so even though I didn't walk out of there with a GameCube game, and I found several spots where there were some GameCube games, there were some cheaper games in the front there were some cheaper games stacked up in the back, and then there were a couple of glass cases with some more expensive games. Not a single game I needed for the collection, which is unfortunate, but I did at least grab a few things. So I grabbed Space Jam on VHS, really clean copy, great condition. And then I got a PS2 game, of course, Fur Fighters, Vigo's Revenge. This game has always looked cool to me. Unfortunately, Buckeye Games and Flea Market was a bust. However, there's another game store nearby. What is it called? Video Game Galaxy. 5 minutes down the road. I struck out yet again on the GameCube, unfortunately. But I didn't walk out of there completely empty-handed. I actually walked out with a couple things. Of course, I got a PS2 game. I snagged MDK2 Armageddon complete for 10 bucks. And I'm actually really excited about this game because I don't remember if it was MDK or MDK2, but back in the day at my school, for some reason, one of the Mac PCs had either MDK or MDK2 loaded on it. And I used to play that a lot during class, and I remember thinking, dang, I can't believe they've got this game loaded on this computer in my school. It was really random. So anyways, really excited about that. So that's cool. And then I saw this in a glass case, this Super Mario Galaxy 2 B Mario keychain, officially licensed Nintendo product from 2011. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is a masterpiece 3D platformer. Okay, I think I found a game store. It's a game store that's only 30 minutes away called Game Depot, and then it's only 30 minutes from where the wedding is going to be. I think that will work out pretty good. So we're going to go check out Game Depot. So I struck out yet again on day 2. Didn't have very many GameCube games at all. I walked out of there with a couple of PS2 games. One called like the Spiderwick Chronicles or something, and then some fast-paced racing PS2 game. I'll show you a B-roll shot of that. And then a cool little Donkey Kong McDonald's toy that I've never seen before. It was like 2 bucks, so why not? But that is it for day 2. Not a lot. Pretty much just pure disappointment. All right, everybody. Day 3 has begun. I am on my way back to Tennessee from Ohio. I was going to go to a game store called Game Cycle in Springfield, Ohio. I decided to cut that one out, and I'm going to start with a game store in Florence, Kentucky called Nostalgic Video Games. So I'm here at Nostalgic Video Games in Florence, Kentucky, and I think I've hit the jackpot. Not only is this game store absolutely massive, there's a ton of inventory, like across all consoles. There's toys, there's games everywhere. I mean, just take a look at this. I mean, it's a really, really big game store with a ton of games. Look at that. That is a lot of GameCube games, and I'm already seeing one
that I don't have, and that's Virtual Striker. And I think that it might be complete, so we might be in luck. All right, so good news. The Virtual Striker was in fact complete in box, and they had it priced a couple of bucks below price charting, which is fantastic. So I'm finally getting another game knocked off the list.
Folks, I feel so much better at the first stop on day 3. So I stopped here at Nostalgic Video Games in Florence, Kentucky. And not only did they have one GameCube game I needed, which was Virtual Striker 2002 complete, and this store is awesome. It's super huge. It's full of tons of games across all consoles, great prices. There's toys, there's collectibles, and they have an arcade. This is a freaking awesome place. And now I have 20 games left, and we're about to stop at another game store here in Florence called, I think it's called Press Start. It's only like 10 minutes down the road. So we're gonna go there next. That's stop number 2 on day 3. And maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe the gaming gods are smiling down upon me on this day, and I will be blessed with GameCube games. All right, so I just finished up in Press Start Games, and even though they didn't have any GameCube games that I needed for the collection, I did walk out of there with at least one PS2 game. This journey is almost at an end. I only have 2 more stops, and they're both game exchanges. One of them is in Cookeville, Tennessee, and one is in McMinnville, Tennessee. And the unfortunate thing is that the one in Cookeville, Tennessee is 4 hours from me, and there are no game stores between here and there that's on the path. Let's hope that this is not a drive to disappointment. Bing bang! Sometimes these collecting journeys just have a way of working themselves out and turning out very interesting. So I'm at this game exchange here in Cookeville, Tennessee. It's gonna be the last stop of the day. I don't have time to go anywhere else because everywhere else is gonna be closed before I get there. And started looking through the GameCube games. You'll see a B-roll clip of some of the GameCube games. Of course, not a single game I need, as to be expected when you're down to 20, and most of them are rare. So I'm like, all right, I'll look around a little bit more. Started looking at the PS2 games. I picked out a PS2 game I was gonna buy. Luminance or something like that. It's like a puzzle game. And then I start walking up to the counter and looking at the glass case, and then I saw it. Something that, with no hesitation, I knew that I was going to be walking out of this game exchange with. So I put the PS2 game back, I get in line, and here it is. They actually had in their glass case a vintage Super Mario Bros. 3 watch that actually works. Now, first off, you guys know I love collecting vintage Nintendo collectibles, and Super Mario Bros. 3 is my favorite 2D Mario game of all time. It was 60 bucks, and it works, and I could not say no to that. Let's go back to the game room, and we're gonna give a final recap of how this journey went. Now here's the crazy thing and the disappointing thing. I went to like, what, I don't know, 10, 12 game stores. Devin, throw that number of game stores up on the screen. And I have 22 games left to get for the collection, and I only found 2 of them complete in box out of that many game stores. And those games, of course, were Virtual Striker 2002 and Lost Kingdoms 2. I only found 2 of the 22 GameCube games that I had left out of like 10 or more game stores. Absolutely insane. Now, I did find one that I needed twice, but both times it didn't have the manual. So the struggle is real. The challenge is real. I am now down to 20 GameCube games left. It's going to be a challenge, but my goal is to complete it this year. Wish me luck.